Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes to change our lives. Out to the tzaveh, up to Ois test. Now we're getting into the meat and bones of the Maimon. Okay, let's begin. Basically, we're going to get in today. We're going to discuss something very interesting, a question that we should all have had if we thought about it. Like we said in the past, that a lot of the Rebbe's questions that we could have, not crazy questions. The answers, you need a little more information than maybe we have, but the question we can sure have. So sort of where we ended off is after the tzaveh, that Moshe is connecting us with our Insaif. And then we said in the mind Vikrei Lecha, and this is the question we're having, Vikrei Lecha, and bring to you. And then we said, Seven Zayzach, Kas Lamar, crash a luminary, that through being crashed in time of Galus, we reach the luminary, we reach the essence of Anashama is revealed. And we said that Moshe brings it out more. I mean, the Mordechai in his generation brought it out more because of the Mesiras Nefesh of the Yidden, expressed more so than by Moshe himself. And we talked about that the Fidik Rebbe is the right Mehemna of his generation, Megali. And he is also a perfect example of this. And then the question we asked, where we sort of left off with, is we haven't really explained, especially in the order of the Maimer, in the Pasuk it says, after the Tzav you should connect the Yidden with their Insaif, they should bring to you. We didn't explain what it means to bring to you. We explained the Shem Zayzach Kas Lamar, that through being crashed on Galus, you reach the Mar. But what are we giving to Moshe? What are we adding? Like we said in the beginning of the Maimonides base, that we are like the feet of Moshe. The 6,000 feet that I'm among, and we are like the feet of the head. Moshe is the head, and we take the head by itself. Can't go. We need to understand that a little bit. Now the Maimon is going to go into explaining more so the time of the Fidik Rebbe's time and our time, and really deep levels within us that are going to be expressed. Let's begin. Ice test. Okay, so this is the question that we should all would have had. I'll just explain out, so I'm going inside. The question that we should all had, if we think about the story, so the whole basis of the Maimon of the Fidik Rebbe is the Gimmel Yehudim es Asher Yechilu Lasos. They took upon themselves what they'd begun. And we said before that what they'd begun Matan Torah was actually completed or fulfilled by the time of Purim. And we said it's been by the Gzer of Haman. But actually, if you looked it up, this Gimmel Yehudim es Asher Yechilu Lasos is actually said in the Megillah by the end. I think it's by chapter 9. It's already after the whole miracle. That's where it's coming. So that's a little bit problematic in our whole explanation. Our whole explanation was because by the time of Mordechai that they had this Mesiras Nefesh. That's why the Kimu Mashikimu Kfar. It became set. Unlike by Matan Torah, which by Matan Torah we said it wasn't. They didn't have this Mesiras Nefesh. Where but this Vart that was saying Kimu Mashikimu Kfar is said after the whole story of Purim. So how does that fit into everything we're saying? So let's see. In a Hakas of the Gimmel Yehudim es Asher Yechilu Lasos, the pasuk of the Jewish people took upon themselves what they began. It's simply talking about Bizman Behazman Shel Achei Neitzei Purim. It's really the Gimmel Yehudim. They took upon themselves what they'd begun by Matan Torah is said in the story of Purim after the miracle. So therefore, we have to say, so this is the problem. We're saying the contrast in stories was by Matan Torah, there was no Mesiras Nefesh, and by Purim, the whole in Mesiras Nefesh. We're talking about that this statement is after they had the Mesiras Nefesh already. Just sort of over. So let's understand this. This is the Maimon says, this concept of they took upon themselves what they'd begun. Except what they already began, that they took upon themselves and they had accepted what had begun Matan Torah. You can also say it in the literal title of the pasuk. V'kibel geimer hayel achaynis. At this the Kibbel, the Rebbe is saying this Chiddush, this the Kibbel that they took upon themselves, they accepted, was really after the miracle. And that's what we're going to say is there's the acceptance by the miracle and the acceptance after the miracle. This is going to be very interesting. Let's see. So therefore, according to this way of understanding it, that the acceptance that they had was really after the miracle of Purim. Therefore, we have to say that there's two aspects of this. There is the aspect that we learned, that we understood till now, and then the aspect we're talking about now. And he's going to explain. You have first of all Hakabala, Shahais Bizmana Gezerah, Aliyem Mesiris Nefesh Alahem. Like the Maimon says clearly, you can say that there's the aspect of that they had the Mesiris Nefesh, which is what we're talking about till now in the Maimon, and that's the acceptance that they had. But then there's an even deeper level is Hakabala Shahais Al Purim, the acceptance they took after the miracle of Purim. Shehi Nailas Yeser. And this is sort of where we're getting into us, into our situation. And what he's saying is, the Rebbe is saying this beautiful part. He's saying that we're sort of dividing this acceptance into two levels. There's the acceptance by the story of Purim itself, when they're in the hardship and they have to have Mesiris Nefesh, and then there's the acceptance they did after they needed the Mesiris Nefesh, after Mesiris Nefesh was over. Let's see. Therefore, we can say, so to being crushed. So just like we're saying that the acceptance is two levels, so too the crushed, which we said before, the crash is by the gezerah that they had, and they had to have Mesiris Nefesh. So we can say there's two levels of crushed. There is Yisrael Nimtzayim Matzav Shel Kasis Mitzad Zeh Sheyeshem Gezerah Al Kivot Mitzvos. You have the crash of the time of Galus because we have decrees against Torah mitzvahs, like in Russia, in communist Russia, they had, or like the story of Achashverosh and Purim. And like the Rebbe saying, like the Maimer that was it said itself, like we talked about in the beginning, that this Maimer was said in communist Russia, and because this Maimer actually, the Frierdiker Rebbe was sent to jail because of this. So that was the Indian Mesiris Nefesh. And through this, Magim Lamar, you reach the luminary. That's the first level we talked about till now. That you reach the Mar, you reach the essence of your being because of this Mesiris Nefesh that's coming back through this Golus. But there's there's another concept of Kas Lamar. Even when we have everything, life is good. We have Barachava, we have Parnasa, like we live in America. We have food, abundance. We can, I heard that when just before the communism fell, I think his name was Boris Yeltsin, he came to America to meet, and he went to supermarket in America, and he was blown away. He was like he couldn't understand the options and the variety, and you just take food and there's no issues. That's how bad Golos was in communist Russia. So we live in this time. I had a friend, a friend of mine. He told us he went right around that time to Russia. I think he's a sheikh. I think he was going to do shchita. He was in the airport, and he bought himself a Coke. He was thirsty. He bought himself a Coke, and he was drinking this Coke. And he sees some guys like staring at him. He was like really awkward, very uncomfortable. And he was like pretty nervous about it. And the guy comes up to him and he goes, that Coke you just drank, that's 1 month's salary for me. and so this is the times of Golus. So we live our chava. We can buy as many Cokes we want and poison ourselves with it. And we can go on Sunday fun days, and we can go traveling easily. And we can do so much. We live in Marchava that has never existed in the world. So therefore, we can be in a situation like we just talked about. We have everything we need, everything we want. Our only issue is ourselves. There's no outside issues really. Also spiritually, we can learn online now. You can listen online to Shurim like we're doing now. And, you have Rabbi God, and you can listen to his Chittas Shurim, and you can listen say tomorrow all these different Shurim that change your life. We have Baruch News. We can learn in millions of places. Really, the ability to have Ruchnius has never been as great. Ella, But what's the problem? We still at Kasis. Why are we Kasis? Because Shein Tzama Galus. Nevertheless, we're still in Galus. So what happens? Now we can relate to this, what we were talking about before. This is that level after the whole story of Purim, after the miracle of Purim. Like we say in the Megillah, what do we say? The Jewish people there was light, simcha, happiness, sasa, gladness, and honor. They lived, life was good after the whole miracle of Purim, after it happened, like us. After communist Russia, after Eden escaped, now we came to America and we have the life all good. And like the Chassidim that were in communist Russia and came to America, the Pashtus, the Gamruchnis, physically it was good, just literally it was good, and also spiritually it was good. They had a lot more opportunities. They said we've done even more than this. Shigam based Haman isn't last. Even the house of Haman, Haman the Rasha, the worst person, was given over to Esther. So it was a total Indian of his hapcha. It was a transformation. It was such a great situation, Megashris, Meruchnis, they didn't have because of the whole story of Purim. But they're still cusses. So you say, you're gonna ask yourself, why? Why are they cusses? Why are we crashed? What's the problem? Life is good. Why are we crashed? But why are they crashed? We are still servants of Achashverosh. Ultimately, end of the Purim story, it ends off saying that he made a tax on everyone and had to pay all this money, and we're still under Achashverosh. It wasn't that life became totally better, even though in comparison to what it was good, but it wasn't Mashiach's time. That's the reality of what happened there, and that's the reality that we live in now. So therefore, what happens because of this reality that even though we have everything we need and we have our chava, we're really fortunate, but nevertheless, we don't have Mashiach. Heim shavurim v'nidkayim kasis b'zeh b'galus. We are bothered and we are crushed, just like the Yidden were crushed in communist Russia, and just like the story of Achashverosh, they were crushed by the time of the Gezerah. So too we are crushed. But why? Not because we don't have or we're lacking in something physically or spiritually. My day, v'al yedei hakasis d'Yisrael mizeshim tzama galus. The true us being crushed was the fact we're in galus. The only reason we're crushed is we're in galus. We have everything we need. And we know that whatever we don't have is because either we don't need it or because we're not going to do the effort to get it. But it's not because we can't reach it. In communist Russia, they couldn't daven with minyan all the time. It wasn't like they're lazy. Nowadays, if we don't do it, we're lazy. I don't daven, not because I can't, not because someone's watching me and I'm going to get in trouble and I'm going to get sent to prison. Because whatever it is, whatever the Yitzhak comes. But that the challenge is from within, not from without. But we have from without, and also technically from within, we have so many opportunities that we could do so much good things. But even though we have all these things and we can be doing all these things, nevertheless, we're still bothered. And this is ultimately, we see this in ourselves. We'll see ourselves, we're bothered. But the question is, why are we bothered? Now, ultimately, we're bothered because we have this intrinsic crush. Why? Because we understand that it's not meant to be this way. We're meant to be in Geula. And therefore, as much as we have all these good things, nevertheless, we're not in Geula, we're still in Galus. It's bothersome. And through this crash that we have, just because of the fact we're in Galus, we reach the luminary. So this is, I think we'll stop here and we'll get into it tomorrow. But this is sort of a whole new dynamic over here we brought. So because until this point in the mind, we're talking about the Kasis crashed because of Galus, because of this extenuating circumstances, like in the time of Haman and Mordechai, Achashverosh, or like in Communist Rashi, you have this. But now the Rebbe is saying, 1 second, if you want to analyze the Varetz a little bit, we have to understand this whole story of a Kimu, Masha Kiblu Kvar, really, that they accepted what they had begun was really only after the whole story of the miracle. So therefore, we can say that it must be talking about also that level. But one thing, how can you be crushed if you have everything? Like we said, they had good, everything was good after the story. But ultimately, it wasn't 100% good because it's still in Golos. And ultimately, in comparison, like times of the Indian communist Russia to us now, same idea. That, we came out of communist Russia, now we can do Tammuz in freedom. But ultimately, we're still going to be crushed. Why? Not because we don't have, not because of outside extenuating circumstances. We can have Vigashus, everything. But we're crushed. Why? Because we know this is not how it's meant to be. We're meant to be in Geula. And this is not Geula. This is not the way it was meant to be. And that's why it crashed. To be understood and for bringing about more tomorrow, amidst Hashem. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a great day.